and so in Nur chapter 24 verse number 31, telling the men and the women to lower their gaze, should not stare. That can be relaxed, but relaxed means, fine, because engagement is there. So that can be relaxed a little bit. Relaxed doesn't mean that complete freedom. But yet the hijab should be maintained. You cannot say that if you are going to be engaged, and the girl cannot say, I need not wear my hijab. I can come without my scarf. Hijab should be maintained. Same as with a nahmeram. He is yet your nahmeram. Fine. If during the first interview, if the husband insists that you can relax a little bit of hijab because I want to have a better look at you. So certain hijab can be relaxed. Certain, not to a great extent. Some of the scholars say it can be, some of the scholars say it can't be. But if says, okay, fine, if the thing has gone to a greater level, okay, fine, I want to have a proper look at my would-be wife. But natural, maybe without the scarf. Certain scholars do permit, certain scholars don't permit. Difference of opinion is there. But that also doesn't mean that complete hijab should be removed. Fine, you can maybe remove the scarf. But that also not always. Otherwise, the hijab should be maintained as a nahmeram. What thing can be little bit relaxed is, in terms of look, that also to a little extent. Secondly, that if you have to meet anytime you have to meet for discussion, see to it that the mahram is there. Either the bride's brother is there, or the father, or the uncle, or the would-be bridegroom's sister is there, mother is there, auntie is there. Talk. You can't say that now we are engaged, let us go to movie together. That also in the last seat, No last seat, no first seat, no middle seat. You can't go out together in a garden, no, not at all. You cannot go alone out at all. Because yet, both of you are nahmeram. You can't go out, you can have a meeting in the house. Once you have decided to be married, you can have a meeting once, have twice, thrice, no problem. But don't unnecessarily keep on meeting. No, now we make it a point, once a week we'll meet. For what? No, we are going to get married after 6 months. So once a week, every Jummah. Every Thursday we'll meet. This doesn't make sense. Might as well, you do nikah, don't consummate the marriage, and meet every day, no problem. If you feel you're delaying the nikah because I don't have a house, maybe I'm not prepared to shift, so no problem, do the nikah, simple nikah. And yet, the girl can stay with the parents, and the boy can stay with the parent. Then you meet every day, no problem. Then all the hijab also can be relaxed. If you want to meet every time, you can meet. There's no fixed rule that after you have decided you can meet once, twice, or 5 or 10 times. Whenever required, if you think, okay, I just want to ask one more question, that I would like to know that what education I will do, what he will do. You want to meet, you can meet, but see to it that there is a mahram when you talk. Not that, okay, at least we won't meet, but every day we'll talk on the phone, half an hour. So all these things that the beloved Prophet ﷺ said, that if two nahmeram are in a room, the third person is the devil. So even if you are engaged, you being alone with your would-be husband or wife is totally haram in Islam. You cannot. See to mahram is there. If you want to speak on the phone once in a while, fine, you can. You can speak. But don't make it a habit regularly. At least once a week I should speak, or once in 3 days, or once a month. If you have a query, you can. But see to it that the talk is more the Islamic lines, rather than too much of laughing, joking, higgling, hanging. That's part of the hijab. So the normal hijab that is maintained for a nahmeram should be maintained even with the person you have engaged. But you can meet the person more with a mahram, which you can do with other people also. Requirement is there. Suppose you have to go to meet a doctor. You can go every day also, no problem. Fine, but because the need is there. So if a need arises, we have to meet and discuss certain issues of marriage or post-marriage, anything, you can meet, see to it the mahram is there, but don't relax it so much. The maintenance of the hijab and the modesty is very important. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is compulsory for a married man to take the consent of his wife and marry the other women, or it is not compulsory? I just wanted to know that.
Sisters ask the question that is it compulsory for a married man to take the permission of the first wife to marry the second wife? Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the permission for a man to have more than one wife, in Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse number 3, as I mentioned earlier, that married women have a choice in 2s, 3s or 4s. But if you can't do justice, marry only one. So generally, under normal circumstances, permission of the first wife is not required. But if it's mentioned in the Nikah Nama, that when the girl and boy get married, man and woman get married, and if the wife puts a criteria, the would-be wife puts a criteria in the nikahnaama that I'll only marry you under the condition that you do not marry a second wife, then it becomes compulsory that he should take permission. So generally, it's not required. If it's mentioned in nikahnaama, it becomes fard. But according to me, though it's not compulsory, I feel it is preferable, highly recommended. Fine, but yet not a fard. Even though it's not a fard to take permission, I would say preferable. It is not fard, but I feel it is compulsory that he at least informs the first wife about the second marriage. But if he is married, you cannot keep it a secret. Why? If he keeps it a secret, he cannot do justice between both the wives. Don't keep it a secret from the second wife. Don't keep it a secret from the first wife also. Best is take permission. If you can't, no problem, at least inform. If you can't inform before, at least after marriage you inform. Why? If you do not inform after marriage, and suppose you want to spend a couple of days with your second wife, you tell the first wife, okay, I'm going for business now. Lie. You cannot do justice. You will have to say hundreds of lies. Tension always. Oh, if my first wife comes to know about my second wife. So you see to it that you go in a place where there are no friends who know about it, and then you meet your friends, there is going to be chaos. Inform, let the chaos be when you're informing. Temperature will go up. The temperature will go up and down. Few days, not talking, etc. It will settle down. But if not permission, at least informing according to me is a fard. Because though most of the scholars don't say it is fard to inform. Why do I say? Because the Quran says that if you marry more than one wife, you have to be just between them. Now how can you be just without informing? So what you'll do? You'll do injustice to one of them. You spend more time here and less time there. You give more attention to one, depending on who's more demanding. If the second one says, I'm demanding, no, I'll only marry you if you spend 5 days. So you tell your first wife, I'm going 5 days out for business. So there will be lack of trust between the husband and wife. So therefore what my thing is, at least inform and tell the reason that why. And a good Muslimah should not mind that the husband and one wife, for whatever reason, as long as the reason is legitimate. Or maybe the wife did not do a good job of being a wife. Or maybe the wife did a good job and husband was not right. Or she didn't do dawah to him or did not do islah to him, whatever it is. But if not permission, at least informing, I feel is a requirement. Hope that answers the question. Yes, Badarshi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What if in a situation where the second wife does not mind you being just to her? Means if she says, no problem, you don't give me any time, no money, everything's okay, I just want you to be the mahram. Okay, so do you have to inform the first wife in that situation? And if you don't, how would be being unjust?
You ask the question, that is the second wife says, I don't mind if you give me less time, do not give me money, do not give me time, only be my mahram. The question of mahram will only come if you give time, na? If you don't give time, then how can you be mahram? For you to be mahram.
No, according to your choice.
According to your choice, fine. So don't say don't give time, don't give time.
According to, if you want to give fine. 1 day, 5 days, 3 months to...
No problem. 1 rupee, 1 million rupee, no problem.
No problem.
Fine. So say like that. Don't say no time.
Exactly.
Fine.
That's it.
Okay, fine. So if she's not demanding, I don't mind if you give me less time, I don't mind if you give me less money and all. So is it important to inform the first wife? Yes, I feel yet it is important. Because even if you decide to give 1 day out of 7, yet you will be lying. To give 1 day, what will you tell your first wife? Where are you going if she asks you?
I'll say I'm going to Kerala.
That's it.
Not really.
To have your second wife in Kerala?
No.
So then, there will be chance you'll tell a white lie, then black lie. So I feel it is the best. But again, even if the second wife says that I don't want more time from you, I feel it's the duty because the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to do just to both. Because it's clearly mentioned in the Quran, Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse number 3, that marry woman of choice in 2, 3, the 4, but you can't do justice, marry only one. So you have to be just. Yes, further the Quran says in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, 129, it is difficult to be just between your wives, so don't turn away from them altogether. That means, in economic terms, you can be just. If you give one Maruti car, one Toyota car to the first wife, give second Toyota car, not one Mercedes and one Toyota. give both of them equal. Time, if it's a little bit disparity, no problem. As we say in Hindi, 19-20 ka fark. Few percent here and there, no problem. When it comes to love, if you are attached to one wife more than the other, like the Prophet also, mashallah, he loves Khadija, may Allah be pleased with the maximum. And Hazrat Aisha after that, after the Khadija expired, may Allah be pleased with them both. That doesn't mean you neglect the other wife. So based on this, I feel that informing, I feel, is compulsory. Yes, brother.
The question is that, if supposing you have to marry a second wife, if you intend
Not
to,
I.
no, whoever, a brother.
No, he said, if you have to marry, I said, inshallah.
A brother. Inshallah. So
Everyone is targeting me, huh?
No. The thing is that, what if the sister, if the sister says, okay, you marry me, and before the marriage, she says, you don't have to be just. For example, if the brother cannot afford to take care of her financially or with time, but the sister agrees that no problems, you don't have to take care of me financially exactly the way you take care of the first wife, etc., etc. Is it okay to do that? Is it allowed?
Whether a person is rich or poor is never the criteria to be just. It is more difficult for a rich man to be just than a poor man, actually. A rich man would give a Mercedes to one person and the other may give a Toyota car. Equality is important. So irrespective whether poor or not, money is never the criteria to be just. So irrespective of what you're earning, whether you're earning 5,000 rupees or whether you're earning 5 lakh rupees, 500,000 rupees or 5 million rupees. Justice means equality. Justice doesn't mean that the amount should be such. And there is no reason that only rich people can marry more than one wife or poor cannot. Because the amount required for a person to lead a life is subjective. Some people, can lead a very comfortable life even by having 2,000 rupees a month. Some people who earn even 200,000 rupees, they say, hey, I'm so poor, I don't have this, I don't have that. And in our organization, we have people earning few thousand rupees, people earning few lakh rupees, few 100,000 rupees. You may never know the person who's earning 4,000-5,000 rupees is much more satisfied, has a bigger family, than compared to a person who's earning more than 1 lakh rupees also, 100,000 rupees also. From the answer's question.
No, actually, see, when you had promised, sister, that you will give 4,000 rupees. If you had promised about 4,000, correct?
Yes.
And let's say you only made 4,000. And there was another sister who was willing to marry you. Okay, and you only make 4,000. And she wants to marry you because she wants a mahram, she wants somebody to be with her, but money is not an issue. So you cannot give her any money. Can you still marry her, and is it justifiable if it's in the contract before marriage?
Brother giving information that during one of the marriage preparatory course, I had said that what are the criteria that I had when I spoke to my wife. I said I told her I'll give you minimum 4,000 rupees. And I said that I'm giving you much more than that, alhamdulillah. So I have chances of decreasing, if I decrease. So I'm giving multiple times more than 4,000 rupees, alhamdulillah. So I can decrease and give you, but taking the situation, whatever the amount is. And suppose you're earning the amount, whatever there. So then, for me to inform is important. And say that, can I reduce it by half? Whether she agrees or not is secondary. But if I give a word to someone, is it a contract in Nikah? No. It was just a word I gave. So my duty to follow Allah's commandment is more important than something what I've told. If it's a Nikah contract I've mentioned, it's different. Then I have to keep it. If it's just, okay, fine, I'll give you 4,000 rupees. And now, someone's mother gets sick. And she requires 2,000 rupees every month. What am I going to do? I'm going to let my mother let her die? I don't know if my mother is sick. My intention was to give 4,000 rupees. My mother is sick. And surely a good Muslim, I would agree. Even if she says, no, I want 4,000 rupees. And if I know that a family can even run 1,000, hypothetically, can run $1,000, whatever it is, if I promise $4,000, what I have to realize that it is a commitment you have made in, but if it is nikah meant something else. So similarly, irrespective of what it is, whether rich or poor, whatever it is, whether the second wife requires your time or not, on a whole, macroscopically there may be difference. Macroscopically, it should be equality. That is what Islam says. She deserves that. She may be willing to give it different. She may be willing to give up is different, but that is your duty. She has the right, and you have to fulfill that thing. Little bit here and there is different, otherwise equality is a must. Hope that's the question. Otherwise you won't be called a good husband. She may go to Jannah. Problem of you going to Jannah will be difficult. The beloved Prophet Muhammad said that the best believer is that who is the best to his family, especially his wife. So good to one wife and not to the other. She may sacrifice, she may go to Jannah. What about you? Do you want to go to Jannah or not? So for you to be good, you have to be a good husband. To one wife, if you have one, if you have two, to both your wives. So tomorrow your wife says, okay, Arshi, don't offer salah. So what do you say? I won't offer salah. If she says, don't offer salah, no problem. Salah is a fard. It is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to offer it. It's not as important as being just. It is important. Being just is important. It may not be as important as offering salah. So what she gives you permission is separate. She may be satisfied. She will not curse you. She will do dua for you. But for you to follow the guidelines of Quran and Sunnah, Quran says is very important. My plans of marrying second has changed. Huh? Yes, Sister, most welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is a Muslimah allowed to marry without a wali?
Is a Muslimah allowed to marry without a wali? Wali is a requirement for marriage to solemnize. It's a hadith of the beloved Prophet ﷺ. Yes, there can be occasion that who is preferable to be a wali may not be there. So you cannot marry without a witness. One of the criteria for a marriage to solemnize is 2 witnesses required minimum. And one of them is your wali. That's a different situation, that the best wali that can be is your father. So suppose your father expires, what do you mean? Won't you marry? I'm not getting personal, just general example. Won't you marry? Or maybe a situation, so what I've realized, that then you make a wali who's the closest to you. Or some reason that if he's abroad and he cannot come, he's gone abroad for work and he cannot come, then you can appoint your uncle, you can appoint your brother, whatever it is. But wali, a witness is required. Without witness, a marriage cannot solemnize. So a witness is required, and one happens to be your wali. That's one of the minimum requirements, besides the other thing that you accepting, the girl accepting, the boy accepting, the mayor, etc. Hope that answers the questions. Yes, sister, most welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I'm asking from the perspective of a teenager. Today it's very common to have people so-called falling in love, and I would like to know that how do I convince my Muslim friends who have so-called fallen in love to go about, and how to refrain from falling into the vices of staring and stuff like that. And the second question is that if the girl or guy is virtuous, then how should I ask them to go about?
Sister has a question that now it's common amongst teenagers and among the friends that they fall in love. So how can she convince that falling in love is wrong? And what if the girl and boy are virtuous? Correct? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean if the girl likes the guy and the guy is virtuous, so the guy likes the girl and the girl is virtuous. Without haram activity, that is telling or anything like that. Just liking the girl for her character, modesty and stuff like that.
First thing, that normally when teenagers fall in love, normal style, so how can you convince it's wrong? And on the other hand, if they are virtuous, then is it allowed without staring, without haram, is it allowed or not? First, the general category of falling in love, how does it come about? It comes about by breaking the hijab level. It's not like that, sometimes wonder, why is this girl choosing this boy? The boy is so ugly. And so, this girl is so ugly. So it is when you talk, you start liking things, it may be weird. So therefore, interaction, too much unnecessary interaction between the opposite sex is to be prevented. Not that you can't speak, but if you speak to opposite sex, you have to lower your gaze. So all these things happen because of not following the hijab level. Maybe the girl is not wearing the proper clothes, Islamic clothes, or the boy is not wearing. Or maybe they are wearing Islamic clothes, but the clothes per se is not only hijab. That is one aspect of hijab, the extent. The extent, it should be loose, it should not be glamorous, it should not resemble the opposite sex, it should not resemble the non-Muslim. Besides the clothes, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you behave, the way you think, all this comes into hijab. Just by wearing a clothing hijab, and if you don't talk properly, how are you? Well, very good, very good. There should not be too much compassion. So automatic, whether you are wearing hijab, how are you? There's so much of depth and so much of modulation and so much of love in the voice. The talking is not Islamic. That doesn't have to be stern always, it has to be normal. Same thing the way you walk. You may wear a hijab and you may not walk properly. The way you think. You may wear a hijab and you may stare and you may think, "Arey kya acha hai," or "Kya achhi hai," whatever it is. There's bird watching going on in schools and colleges. So talking, walking, thinking, heart, niyat, everything put together. So when the hijab is broken in any of these aspects, there are high chances that infatuation will come. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, Almighty God, has made us. If you keep on talking opposite sex and nothing happens to you, then you require a psychiatrist. If you keep on talking often to an opposite sex and say, I talk but nothing happens to me, so you require a psychiatrist. Something has to happen. Or there's something wrong with you. If you follow Islamic principle, lowering the gaze, saying to it be in the hijab level, then nothing happens, that is fine. Then you're a normal human being. You keep on talking, hello, hi, shaking hands, comment, pinching, everything, it goes on. So these things, that's the reason then you fall in love. Now, in these cases, in colleges and schools, the criteria for love is far away from the Islamic criteria. 99.9% it is not virtue. If it was virtue, one of them would have stopped. Maybe he is virtuous but not very virtuous, but alhamdulillah better than the others, and yet he may fall in love. That's possible. He may not be able to tempt the feeling. If the hijab, the girl or the boy has a little bit lowered and they get into that infatuation, attraction, and yet they may be virtuous but not totally. There's nothing like love before wedding in this sort of cases. So there's nothing like LBW, LBW you have in cricket, nothing like love before wedding in Islam. Therefore I always say, it is more important to love the girl you marry than to marry the girl you love. It is more important to love the girl you marry than marry the girl you love. We have these Romeo and Juliet, Layla, Majnu, Shiri, Farad. And people say that if Layla, Majnu or Romeo and Juliet would have married, they have come to know what is the problem, they would have had in married life. So it's always more important to love the girl you marry than to marry the girl you love. Now coming to the second scenario, where sister has asked that there's a girl and a boy. Both of them are Islamic, both of them are virtue, but they fall in love. One side, two sides, she didn't say.
One side.
One side. Two sides is difficult, no? To purchase. So she's taken on the one side, falling in love with the person, and the thing is there that Islamic, is it allowed? So if a person is a virtuous girl, she is not breaking any rules of the hijab, she is following all the hijab rules, talking, walking, everything, alhamdulillah. But she knows of a person who is also virtuous, and she is fallen in love. Is it accepted? It is accepted. Accepted that she desires to marry a boy who she knows of, who is Islamic, it's accepted. But it is not the love that you have in today's age. So it is one-sided. The best is, if she knows that she should propose. Simple. She should propose Islamically. Maybe through a brother, through a father, through an uncle. Send the proposal. So if she's fallen in love, fine. That should not stay for long. Fine. As you said, teenage. Fine, teenage also no problem. On the higher side of the teen, no problem. Propose. Send the proposal. Don't wait for too long. You may never know, you may break the barrier of hijab. No, she's Islamic. She's not done anything wrong. She's fallen in love. Propose Islamically. If you don't propose, then there may be problems. You may not be able to maintain your hijab level. So she sends the proposal, and then if she's also Islamic, and he also wants Islamic girl, everything goes fine. If it doesn't, then leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then if she's Islamic and if he has rejected her, then she should try and find someone who's more Islamic or less Islamic who likes her. So Islamically, if she likes someone on the basis of Quran and Sunnah, because he is virtuous, no problem, accept it. She has not breaking law of the Sharia. She should send the proposal as soon as possible. Don't wait. Send the proposal Islamically. Then we can have a meeting, have a talk, have a chat. If he accepts, alhamdulillah. If he doesn't accept, no problem. She finds someone else and he finds someone else. Hope that's the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I am the coordinator. Even I wish to ask a question.
Sure, most welcome, sister.
According to Islam, what are the important duties of a wife towards her husband?
As far as the duties of a wife towards the husband is concerned, but natural, she should see to it that she is a good wife. As I started my talk today, the session, with the verse of the Quran of Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse 187. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. That they are your garments and you are the garments. Your wives are your garments and you are the garments. The men, the garments of the wives. Now what is the role and duty of a garment? The main duty and the role and the purpose of a garment is to protect one another, is to conceal one another, is to beautify one another. So the duty of the husband and wife that they help each other, they conceal each other's faults, they beautify each other, and they strengthen each other. So this is the role of somewhat like hand and glove. Furthermore, if you analyze that the Quran has referred to the woman as muhsana. Muhsana means a fortress against the devil. In several places in the Quran. In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 24. In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 25. In Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 5. In Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 4. In Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse number 33. In several places, the Quran refers to the woman as muhsana, who is a fortress against the devil. So it's the duty of the wife to be a fortress against the devil for the husband. Means she should see to it that she remains a muhsana for the husband, that she sees to it that she keeps the husband on the straight path. If you realize that the husband is deviating away from Quran and Sunnah with a little or more, you should be always present to see to it that to prevent him from deviating. Whether it be he's offering salah but may not be getting up in the morning, example. So you as a muhsana, see to it that you get up, keep an alarm, wake him up nicely, with love, with affection, get him up. So you are a muhsana. If you know he has some vices which he may have fallen into, so you see to it that you are compassionate to him. And with love, see to it that the relationship should be a hand in glove. You should not be, oh, you're doing something wrong. Or the question is haram. Fine. So with love and affection, you should see to it that he's on the straight path. So these are the basic ones, hand in glove and being a muhsana. Furthermore, all the duties that are there, taking care of the husband, see to it that you obey him, and see to it that you get him closer to Quran and Sunnah. You have to follow almost everything what he says, unless those things which is against Quran and Sunnah, if he tells you, that's the only time you can disobey him. For example, if he tells you not to wear the hijab, that time you not follow him. But otherwise, if he tells you something Islamic, you follow. If he tells you something which is mubah, so you follow. So in this way, the duty of the wife is to keep the husband happy. It's the duty of the husband to keep the wife happy. It's not a one-way traffic, it's a two-way traffic. As it's the duty of the wife to see to it that she satisfies the husband, it is the duty of the husband to satisfy the wife. As I mentioned earlier, that the beloved Prophet ﷺ said that the best amongst the believers, that was the best to his family, especially the wife. So it's a two-way traffic, and nikah is a marital contract. Nikah is a marital contract. It's an understanding between both of them. And how well they live, how well they understand each other, it all happens if you're close to the Quran and Sunnah. But see to it that not that you are only outwardly close to Quran and Sunnah. It should be inwardly. If a wife gives respect to the husband automatically respects the wife. If the wife does not respect the husband will not respect her. Even if the husband is bad, if the wife is good, the extra good she is, the more easier for the husband to come and be good to her. That's what the Quran says in Surah Anfal. That don't defeat your enemy, win over the enemy. If you win over the enemy, you'll never know that in whose heart was enmity would become your friend. That goes in generally, that also goes for the spouses. So relationship, sister, is more of a hand in glove. Hope that answers the questions.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question is, if a husband and wife are staying together, they're married around 10 to 12 years, and these 10 to 12 years, they're just staying with each other just for the sake of it. They are not actually involved with each other, and they're just staying together to show others that they are husband and wife. Is the nikah valid?
Starts the question that if two couple, man and woman, are married with one another, they're staying for more than 12 years, but they aren't having a relationship, but they're just telling to show the world, is the nikah valid? Is nikah valid? Why should the nikah break? Nikah is valid. Whether they want to continue or not is secondary. Whether they're good husband and wife is there, but the nikah is valid. Because they are married. If they did the nikah according to the Quran and Sunnah, the nikah is valid. They have not said talaq. Talaq is not that valid. Both may not be good husband and wife to each other, that's a secondary question. Because having relationship is not compulsory for the nikah to continue. Having relationship is not compulsory for nikah to continue. So they may not be good husband and wife, but the nikah is valid and they are yet husband and wife. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Now